Hello folks, Wiley here. Today I'm going to talk to you about materials used for painting in oils, starting with brushes. A lot of the brushes I use are just things that have been around for a while. I used to buy really nice brushes and try to take care of them, and lately I've realized that's just a waste of time because I'm messy. I don't take care of my brushes. So I tend to buy rather inexpensive brushes. This is a round, that's probably about $4. That's white Talon, so it can be used for acrylics and oils. However, if you're going to use it for oils, you should not go back and forth and use it for acrylics and oils. It will destroy the brush. Here's a large round. I think that's some sort of synthetic, fake, what do you call that? Red sable, fake red sable. Here's a nice, again, a white Talon, a filbert brush. These are nice because they're sort of square and flat and round on the edge, nice for clouds. Nice large round brush. Here's a flat or a bright. I never remember what they're called. So I tend to buy, maybe a $20 kit with half a dozen hog's hair or white Talon brushes, and I just use them until they're spent and go from there. I don't have a sample here, but if this brush gets completely splayed out and completely ruined, I still use it. It's good for clouds, it's good for textures, it's good for leaves, and so on. All right, so moving on to the painting substrate. Most people are familiar with the stretch canvas. This is what a lot of artists use. Lately, I have tended away from using this. I tend to paint very thinly, and I constantly am fighting with the canvas texture, so I've moved on to a smoother board. But before I mention that, a lot of people use this. It's a great product. It also comes in a panel, a hard canvas panel, which I don't recommend bothering with unless you're just doing some studying. If you're a beginner, they're fine. They're really cheap. And let's see. There's also canvas paper. If you're just experimenting with color and such, then canvas paper works fine. All right, so put that aside. What I frequently paint on is masonite. Everybody's familiar with this nasty brown, smooth product, rough on the backside. And what you have to do is sand it really nice with maybe a 200 grit sandpaper, maybe 150, and then primer it with acrylic gesso. On this, you probably need to do 3 to 5 coats, sanding every time in between, wiping the dust away. For that, I use a rather larger brush rather than these small oil painting brushes. I also use, I don't seem to have one here, but I use, it's called a Danish plywood or a painting panel, and I think Michaels has it, BlickBlick.com has it, and I'm sure that Jerry'sAutorama.com has it. Here is a piece of masonite that I primered with the gesso. However, I have mixed it with a little bit of yellow ochre acrylic to give me this toned canvas. I do this because then you can paint and you can leave a lot of the area showing through, and it gives it a richness that you're not going to get when you have that pure white color showing through your surface. So we'll put those aside. Let's see, we'll talk about palettes. Here we go. There you go, there's your palette, that's all you need. This is the one I've been using to paint outdoors. They get sort of full of paint. I get tired of cleaning them up, and I'm lazy, as you can see. It just gets glopped up and I get tired of it. So after many, many years of scraping and cleaning those palettes, I have succumbed to just paint it on paper plates. That way you can just throw it away when you're done and be done with it. Obviously, you're gonna need to clean up, and for cleaning brushes and your hands and whatever other mess you may have created, I use and I recommend this Gamasol. It's made by Gamblin. Everybody has it. It is an odorless paint thinner, and obviously paper towels. Paper towels I use are Viva brand. They do not have this printed texture. A lot of these paper towels have some sort of diamond or something, and I try not to use those. They're fine for cleanup, but if you're gonna paint with them, you wanna use this Viva with the overall. It's like a piece of cotton something. Doesn't have a pattern, so very useful. Let's see, cleaning up. So for cleaning, for storing your paint thinner and whatever medium you may be using, I have these little metal cups that I use. You can't use styrofoam because it'll kind of dissolve. A little glass jar will do, baby food jars. Most people carry the little jars with a lid, closable lid. I tend to pour just maybe a ½ inch of the medium out in one of those jars, or a tiny little bit on the plate to use it. Medium is used to thin your paint and make the paint flow. I recommend this Galkyd Light after many, many, many years of using just about everything under the sun. I find this foots the bill for me in almost all cases. If I really want my paint thin, I might mix a little bit of Gamasol, which is the thinner, with the Galkyd Light, which is the medium, on a 50-50 ratio, and that gives me a really nice runny medium, and I can make my paint run around quite a bit. The only other medium that I use, and I can't really tell you why or when, just sometimes I get bored, I want a thick medium, and I use this Gamblin Neo Meglip. It's like a, I don't know, it's like a ebony, it's like a amber toothpaste kind of thick stuff, and it's kind of interesting. It keeps your paint thick if you like to work with a thicker paint as opposed to a runny paint. That's what I use. All right, so let's see. We got the cups. Obviously, if you're in a studio situation, you need a nice large studio easel, but anymore, I've come to just sitting at a table. It gets tired standing up at that easel, whether you're indoors or painting outdoors, so I tend to use these now. Just sit at the table, work quietly, nobody bothers you. There's also the little metal collapsible types that some people might be familiar with. This is what I use. So let's see, where are we? A maul stick. A maul stick is nothing but a piece of wooden dowel, and I've got this little rubber eraser thing on the end, and when you're trying to get in there and do some kind of specific detail and your hand is shaking a little bit or you can't quite steady yourself, you can use this and lean it on the canvas and lay your hand like this and touch very lightly, and it's used to steady. You know, you can work it against the edge of the table and, you know, so forth, and it just really helps to steady your hand as may be needed in certain occasions. All right, so we get rid of the easel. Where are we? I guess we're down to charcoal. Before I paint, sometimes I draw on the canvas, sometimes I just start painting, sometimes I may just outline it with some burnt umber, but a lot of people use vine charcoal. It's just this really thin stick of charred wood to draw with. And what's nice about this is when you go ahead and draw with this and then you paint, it disappears into the paint. It doesn't leave you hard lines like drawing with a pencil would do. All right, so I guess we're kind of down to colors. Starting with white, I use mostly titanium white, and this is really unless you're gonna do a horrendous amount of painting, a large amount of painting, this is what, you only need a large tube in your white, because white is a color you'll probably use more than any other. I don't use black. If you need black, I mix burnt umber and ultramarine blue, wherever it got off to. I've lost it. Oh, there it is. I mix burnt umber, ultramarine blue, makes a nice black. And I always tell people, don't over mix it. Just put the two together, stir it around a little bit, and paint with it. Because what you'll end up with is you'll end up with black and gray and blue and brown, and your color is just so much more interesting if you don't over mix. Actually, that's Payne's Gray, but pretend this was ultramarine blue, because I've lost it. So colors, let's see. Probably a color that I use more than any other is burnt umber, because I do a great deal of underpainting, monochromatic underpainting, which I think I've already demoed and I'll be demoing again at some point. I also use raw umber. It's a slightly more yellow, dark brown, it's slightly more yellow, warmer. Other earth colors I use, and you can see these are well used, are yellow ochre, nice mustard color. Burnt sienna, which is like a rust. Let's see what else we got. That's about it for earth colors. Blues, I've got wherever the darn ultramarine blue went, and cerulean blue. This tube makes it look green. It really isn't. This is just a bad design, color design on this tube. I don't know what the story is. It's actually a nice, nice rich blue for mixing with skies. So I use that a lot. Lately, I found this Blick color that's called light blue. It's not an official color name, but it's just a nice, really, really bright light blue, good for skies. Oh, I didn't leave that up there long enough. You can see it now, okay. I also use cobalt blue and the aforementioned ultramarine blue. All right, so the only other bluish thing that I use is called, I can never pronounce this, diagnozine purple or something like that. It's just a nice, rich purple color, good for shadows, good for mixing, good for all kinds of things. Don't be afraid to use purple. Some people use grays. I tend to mix my own grays, but if you want to use grays, there's a gray called warm gray, and for a cool gray, I use Payne's gray. These are great, again, if you want to mix your own grays like I do, go for it. Everybody knows how to mix them, or I guess I'll be telling you that sooner or later, but here's a warm and cool gray if you just want to buy the paint, because you have endless funds. All right, let's see. Green. The green that I detest that these companies put in every single kit, you know, these kits that have the 8 or 10 or 12 colors, is phthalo green. It's a chemical green. It dyes everything it comes in contact with. The only use that I've ever found with this is painting evergreens. And students, new painters always take this straight out of the tube and paint their evergreens with it, and it looks like hell. You need to mix a little bit of burnt sienna in with it, because it kind of kills that acidic chemical green color. It makes it more of an earthy green. Try it. It makes a really rich evergreen color. I don't even know why I bought this. This is some sort of, I think this is called permanent green light. I would never use this color straight out of the tube, but it's a nice, really rich, bright green that you can use with other colors to lighten and darken your greens. A strange color that I use is, I've only seen it made by Gamblin, and it's called transparent orange. And a lot of times if you're painting trees and they're just flat and they're just green, and you want to add a little bit of brown, a little bit of richness, something that looks like limbs are coming through, or you have these different color leaves, tuck in a little transparent orange. It makes the color really come alive. It makes the green more lifelike. After decades of painting, a friend, Joyce Blair, turned me onto this color, and I am thankful to her for that, because it really is a nice trick. Let's see what else we got. Yellows, don't know what that is. There's ultramarine blue, there it is, okay. Mixed in with the yellows. I think I use 3 or 4 yellows. Right now I have cadmium yellow deep, cadmium yellow medium, cadmium yellow dark. I use all of these. You know, it's funny, it's not just as simple as buying yellow and putting white or black in it and making one. Put black and yellow makes green. It's not a matter of just buying a yellow and making it lighter or darker. These are different colors. They give you different effects. If you've ever painted a sunflower petal, you'll know you need all these. You need all these yellows. I also use cadmium yellow light and medium. I also use cadmium red light, and sometimes cadmium red deep. Now I ordered this tube by mistake. I thought I was ordering this, but it's in metric, and you know I'm an American, so I don't know. I got mixed up, so I've got a 200-year supply of cadmium red deep, because I don't use that color a lot. What else we got? Sap green. This is sold by different manufacturers. It's called Sap green, Terravert, chromium oxide green, and probably one other that I have forgotten. But basically it's a nice, dull, green, earthy color that you could make exciting by adding white or blue or yellow or any number of things. So I think that's about it. This was an introduction to the materials, and in the near future, in the next week or so hopefully, I'm going to do another video on using these materials and some basic techniques. So goodbye for now. Keep on painting, or go ahead and get some materials and start painting. So thank you for watching. Bye.